Is your business struggling to stand out from the crowd online? At Webamax, we specialize in turning clicks into customers. From SEO and PPC to social media management and stunning web design, we've got you covered. Boost your online presence and drive real results. Ready to take your business to the next level? Visit Webamax.com. That's Webimax.com for a free digital analysis. Rule the web with Webamax.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
In the beautiful brand new Offside Tavern in the heart of New York City. We're going to hear some Weird Islanders tales from our great listeners. My name is Dan. Sitting beside me, always a pleasure, is my friend Mike. Mike, this is a surreal experience.
Yeah, it is surreal. I think I've been saying it's surreal like meeting us, but it's equally surreal to be doing a podcast next to you because we've never done that before. I don't know, like outside of we've been to a game at the Coliseum together and one at the Barclays Center together. But we've been in the same room together maybe 6 times in our life.
Yeah.
And we've talked to each other every Sunday night for an hour and a half for 8 years. So yeah, it's equally surreal to be doing this. But I don't know any of your podcasting logistics, like your tendencies or whatever, and you probably don't know what I look like while I'm podcasting really either. So I usually do it upside down.
Well, so I watched some of your videos, Match Network and stuff. So I've seen your setup there. My setup has a lot more toys in the room with me because that's my office where I have like all of my stuff, and I'm able to sort of close the door and tell my wife and daughter, like, we're doing this now. Be quiet, And you're kind of in a much more open area.
Yeah. No, I did move into a room with a door, which is good.
Doors are good.
Yeah.
Podcast
which is good. Yeah, but there's still a lot of junk and the dog still comes in. Obviously, but
he's our unofficial third.
Yeah. And Emily will peek her head in every once in a while, just like make fun of me. And she went out on mute. She'll be like, "That's really embarrassing what you just said."
Do you do what I do, which is like I'm always like, this isn't going to take too long. And then 3 hours later, I'm like, all right, I'm done. Yeah. And they're like, what happened not too long?
Did you watch the games?
I was going to say, you saw the whole thing. Some guy wrote something about the Leafs. The whole thing. But had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's the best. It's a great part of my week. I'm very grateful that I can do it, and that people are like in my life are okay with me doing it too, which is great. They're like, all right, like, it's Sunday night. Like, that means you gotta let Mike be a loser and it's a room and talk about the Islanders.
Yeah, no, I know. And I'm always like, all right, well, I'm done now, but we're doing them tomorrow night and next night too, and then we're gonna talk about pizza. Yeah. And then if a guy emails me back, I'll have him on Thursday.
Yeah.
But no, this is great. It's great to be live in person with you. It's great to have everybody in front of us here. We're gonna hear some great stories. We get to see a lot of Weird Islanders gear here, which is awesome. Yep. That's what we're hoping for. And that includes you and I. So why don't you tell us what you're wearing right now?
Yeah, I got my Lubo Wisnowski Slovakia jersey on. I went on the great day spree of 2020 during the COVID pandemic where I was like, a Dominic Hasek jersey would show up at my front door, or the Team of Solani jersey, and this is a big part of that. I don't wear it all that often because I like to wear Islanders gear to the Islander games, and obviously this is a Slovakian one, but I did wear it one once they lost the second game at UBS Arena. I believe that was to the Leafs, and I haven't worn it to a game since. But my story about this jersey that you're going to appreciate is when the Islanders went on their run to the Eastern Conference Final in 2021. I had texted our friend of the podcast, very much a friend of the podcast, Elliot Friedman, that if the Islanders make the Stanley Cup Finals, he's got to come and sit in the gods with me, and I have a jersey for him to wear. And all he responded back was, "What jersey?" And I just sent him a picture of this Lubomir Visnovsky Slovakia jersey, and he didn't respond.
Come on now. That's great. No, that's a beautiful jersey. Lubo was a beautiful man, or Silver Fox, as we called him, as Cal Costa called him. So, while Lubo's technically not a weird Islander, this jersey is a weird Islander jersey. So, we're going to take it. Judges are going to accept it. It's absolutely fantastic. And, there's something about the European hockey jersey that's just,
yeah.
Really come on.
Yeah, the crest is nice too. The Slovakia crest.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I am wearing the jersey, and it is of the original, the Doc Hosang first edition printing, number 66, the one that made Mario really mad. So, and that is, of course, athlete, artist, app developer now, like just all around philosopher. Josh Hosang has got a new record out there. He's a man of many talents, and we will get an episode about him. We had a friend have Dips.
I think Josh would probably be the most likely Weird Islander to actually say yes to coming on.
That's probably true.
But we'd have to make him do it about a different Islander.
Yeah.
he talks about himself quite a bit. Like, I would love to hear him talk about, Bratislava.
I don't even know who he played with that he would even talk about. I mean,
we did Alcola here.
We did Alcola.
Yeah, we did Alcola.
Yeah. So we have to find somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be fun. I don't know. Like, the thing is, I thought about reaching out to him and having him come on, but then I'm just like, I don't know if he even wants to talk about the Islanders. Like, he always says, yeah, it was fine. So
make him talk too much about that. Be like, you're here to talk about Leo Conlon. You're not here to talk about Josh.
Dude, if we had an actual Islander come on, I'd be like, just talk about whatever you want to. I don't even care. I'm just shocked or something. So we are going to get started. We're going to have some stories here. We got another microphone. I really hope all this is recorded. And so we'll call you up. And we want to hear your Weird Islanders tales. You're familiar with the show. The weirder the better. The guys we love barely played for this team. Some of them, it's like 1 or 2 games. Some guys were here for a long time and nobody remembers them. So that's what we try and do with the show. And it's funny that it's like kind of taking root. And like you think it's like a weird concept for a show, but then, people are like, oh my God, I remember that guy. And it's like a whole thing. So it's just, I think it's a thing that, the Islanders aren't the only team that can pull something like this off, but they definitely fit this bill better than a lot of other teams. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why the show works, and it's weird because most of these people we talk about were in dark times,
right?
And then you talk about these guys. You're like, it wasn't really that bad, and then like a couple days later, like, oh no, actually, it was terrible. And explaining it to someone like outside of the Islander verse, being like, what was. You do a podcast, and I'm like, yeah, it's this podcast called Islanders Anxiety, and this other one about Weird Islanders. And they always ask, because I think Islanders Anxiety is pretty self-explanatory, but Weird Islanders, they're like, okay, well, what's that? And I tell them, and like, they're like, you just talk for an hour with like a random guest about, someone who played 40 games with the Islanders. I'm like, yeah. You'd be surprised.
You'd be very surprised.
You'd be very surprised where it ends up.
Yeah.
And so,
as we say a lot on the show too, like we talk a lot about what these guys think their legacy is. And I want to know what their reaction, like what is Rob Schrempf's reaction to the fact that 3 people sat around for an hour and a half and talked about this? It's just like, I mean, he's a guy who he played almost 2 seasons with the Islanders. We did a Ryan Smith episode and just like, they remember he playing on Long Island. We did Ryan.
Did you reach out to him or no?
No. I wish. I don't know.
But the sole mission of the show is to get Wade Dubowitz on something.
Yeah. Justin Bourne left the same. I got to get in touch with him again. So we'll talk to him and we'll see if we can get Wade on. Maybe let's see. Here's the problem. If we get Wade on, what's next? That's the season finale. Right. Yeah. Exactly. We got a few more. I think we got a few more in us. We're coming up on episode 50 this year. Actually, episode 50 this year is going to drop on May 24th, which is a huge deal in Islanders world. So we want to get good big guest for it. We have absolutely no idea who that would be. So we're working on it. We'll get there. But okay. But today is about your stories, and I'm very excited to hear them. And I have a few here, so this is going to be great. And I'm just going to call them up in order, basically, that we got them in, because there's no point being randomized. So kicking us off today is going to be Zach. Zach, come on up here. There's your mic, my friend.
Thank you.
Looking absolutely resplendent in this jersey that you're going to tell us all about, because the man who we're going to hear about is on the back. So please tell us your name, where you're from, and who you are wearing today.
I'm Zach Bostrom from Garden City, and I am wearing Rob Collins.
Fantastic. So why on earth do you have a Rob Collins? By the way, this is the orange.
The orange jersey.
Yeah. Why do you own this?
Good question. So this wasn't my first choice to wear today. I was going to wear not one of my Bryan Street jerseys, but 3 of them.
Wow. All right, so tell us about the Rob Collins.
Okay, so I have this more just because I love the orange jersey. I didn't like it at first, but I think after seeing so many bad black and like weird blue on it, like this sticks out a lot more as part of that weird bad Islanders history.
Yeah. But there were some good teams that played in that jersey.
Oh, yeah, I love that jersey.
But
And I feel like that was when I started to go to games.
exactly.
Right?
Like my first season was 0102, so it was 0203, and then
I feel like our vintage fans of our vintage actually really appreciate that jersey, and a lot of people on either side of us are like, that was a weird thing. But I felt like they never lost it, and that's not true.
I assume they lost a lot.
We don't need our point.
No, it's always just annoying seeing like people outside the island not like this jersey, and then I have to triple down defending it because I'm not letting some guy from Edmonton tell me it sucks.
Yeah, right.
I had at the game this year, I was wearing that jersey, of an Adrian O'Coin jersey, and the people in front of me were from Toronto. They're playing the Leafs, and he's like, "I love those jerseys." And I was like, "I appreciate you saying it." Like, he's a very nice guy. I appreciate him saying that. And he's like, "It's just a jersey that I feel like no other team in the NHL could pull off." And I said, "You're right. It's absolutely true."
Well, why Rob Collins?
The main thing was that my Bryan Street deal, the guy gave me the 3 jerseys. I had this on sale too, and I was like, yeah, I want an orange jersey. I like having Weird Islanders. I got this after the podcast started, so I was like, I want to rep the Weird Islanders.
Wow.
And nothing's weirder than the guy who played 8 games in 04, 05, I think.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, the fact that like we know who Rob Collins is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it blew my mind when I walked in, took my jacket, and then Mike was like, "Oh, Rob Collins." Like, you know him?
Well, he was like part of that contingent of like quasi prospects, right? And Maple Top.
Yeah, some good
He was
use
like
of
one of the older, Kevin Colley. Definitely he did it.
I always get Rob Collins confused with Rob Davis, who of course scored a very important goal that actually just had its anniversary, the Vesitosco goal. We should do an episode on Rob Davis. He's another guy I want to get on because just talk about that one goal. But like,
and he showed up in the middle of a game, like when the Islanders traded for him. He missed the first period. Like he showed up late because like there was traffic or something at the airport, and they still made him play. And I remember him being like, I don't know why they made me play this game. Like,
gotta get Rob Davis in the lineup. You just need him.
And they were like playing out the string at that point too. They were in a playoff race, but yeah, we gotta get Rob in.
And then little did he realize he was gonna make history. Okay, before we let you go, why do you have 3 Bryan Street jerseys?
That's a very good question. The main reasons I like kind of standing out, and I like repping the players that are represented. I mean, everyone has, the Barzell, Horvath jerseys that's coming out. Too many people still have the Tavares jersey at UBS.
That's true.
Yeah. But I think it means a lot to those players to see someone, repping the guy who isn't really represented. Like, he's sort of NHL. These guys worked all their lives here at the NHL. They deserve the day in the sun.
Tell the story about, you told me about Rob Collins and Bates.
Oh, yeah. So I have a Rob Collins adjacent story. It doesn't involve him directly, but I think it's still appropriate for this. So during last season, I was on the Arizona-Vegas turn, repping this jersey, of course, because I want to I just like the orange jersey at that point. It feels very deserty. So before the game in Vegas, I'm at some bar outside New York, just getting a all of a sudden, someone comes to me, just kind of like tap my shoulder, like, "Hey, is that Rob Collins?" I'm like, "I know that." Turns out, This was the wife of one of his friends who played a weird sound tiger, one level deeper in this podcast. Aaron Powers, who played like 6 games of Bridgeport, but the new Rob. I was to sign in his CHL or whatever. And so she drags me over to Aaron and is like, hey, this guy is Rob Collins' jersey. He's all excited. Like, I need a photo of you. And he sent this Rob. I guess I realized that like, these guys don't get recognized anymore. Like, they never see themselves like represented.
Yeah, they're like real estate agents now.
Yeah, right.
And they might be, yeah.
That's fun.
So I got a photo with Aaron to send to Rob, and it was just, it made me realize like these guys, like that means that's like their Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
Also, like,
If I had that picture,
people still remember them.
that might be in the background of his phone or like in his room. That picture.
I mean, that's like incredibly admirable, and like for you to do that, and like especially like because the thing about Brian Strait is like, let's be honest, like when Brian Strait was playing for the Islanders, he was not the most beloved Islander we've seen, you know, and so that's why it's funny to me that like, you know, you would choose to wear a jersey of a guy who was not well liked by the fan base, and yet every once in a while you come across people who are like, oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah. Like that's just really funny. That,
so he's not well loved, he's well remembered. So
yeah,
it's
all for the wrong
50%. Oh my God, it's awesome. 50%. What is wrong?
That's what you want. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you were telling a story about these guys. If they saw a Rob Collins jersey, being like, wow, I can't believe it. But Rob Collins actually saw your Rob Collins jersey, which is insane.
Yeah, 20 years after.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, Zach. This has been fantastic. Perfect stuff. Thank you. Wow. We're coming in hot. That was the first one. First one, Rob Collins, Brian Strait, everything. That's crazy. All right. Thank you, Zach. That was fantastic. Okay, next up is Matt. Where's Matt? Come up here. Check Matt. How you doing, friend? Hi, Matt. How are you?
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. Where are you from and who are you wearing today?
I'm originally from Oyster Bay. A whole bunch of different places. I'm currently in Albany, New York, but I was born and raised in Oyster Bay.
Excellent.
This story is a little bit of a winding road, but we're going to get to Chris Osgood, I promise.
All right. One of our big
So the jersey that I'm wearing is the Islanders Wave jersey with the original logo. It's actually the first Islanders jersey I ever owned. My aunt, Dorothy, who got me into the team, bought this for me when I was in the 4th grade. Still fits. I'm a little snugger, but I'm not that much smaller. So, and the name that I have on the jersey is what many people consider to be a jersey foul, but I put my own name on the jersey. And the reason for this is because I really wanted a Palfy jersey, and my aunt said, Matthew, trust me, the players that you love on this team are going to leave one day. Do not get another person's name on your jersey. Why don't you get your own name? And I was, 10 years old or whatever.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And I've probably worn a jersey with my own name on it a lot more than a lot of the Islanders today. So I've been part of the greater scope of the team for a while, so I'm okay with it. And then the other jersey I really wanted to get when I was older was Tommy Salo. And then when he left the team, I swore to myself I would never watch another Islanders game again. I was so upset. And for some sad reason, that didn't come true. And I just want to thank you guys for doing this. I feel like I have a very parasocial relationship with both of you. I've been listening to you guys, we still had a number 91 on the roster, so it's been a very long time. And I really look forward to it. As I was telling Mike earlier, I feel like you guys can put a lot of things into words that I feel that I can't fully express myself. And it helps me communicate with the important people in my life, such as my wife. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Those very kind words. Thank you.
So anyways, thank you. I grew up in Oyster Bay, New York, and for a while, I believe it was the 2001-2002 season, my neighbor was Chris Osgood.
Wow.
I could stand on my parents' front porch and see his house. I hope I'm not doxing the gentleman now. His mom since moved away.
Yes.
Yeah, I basically could see my house, see his house from my house. And when his family first moved in, no one really knew who lived there. And it was an early snow. And my friend and I believe the person who his wife paid us to shovel his driveway when they first got there. So I once shoveled Chris Osgood's driveway. And one time, like later in the season, it was towards the spring, I was playing street hockey in the street with my friends when Michael Pekka came driving down the street. And, as we moved the goal out of the way, he just rolled down the window and he said, like, it looks good, boys, or something like that. As he and we all just kind of stood there like, was that him? Was that him? So.
That's amazing.
That would be the inspiration of that commercial.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be.
Well, him and Alexa Yash.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah. That's amazing.
And then related to that season it was 2001, 2002, I believe. Was your guys on the team?
Yeah.
I was in the 8th grade. I was going to Oyster Bay High School, one of the schools, TM. And in one of our social studies classes, we were talking about like the rise of the labor movement and the start of unions in the country. And my teacher, who was also an Islander fan, used Brad Isbister's contract dispute as an example of labor management relations. And he basically explained, like, either sign a contract, Brad, or you're not going to play, and you're not going to play anywhere. And he kept telling the story, but kind of out of context, just like between management and Brad Isbister. Yeah. And when he was done with the story, about 18 out of 20 hands from the class went up. And then somebody said, who's Brad Isbister? And he explained who Brad Isbister is, and then the other 17 hands all went down.
That's really funny. Wow.
So,
Amazing.
yeah, that's what I got. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank
And before I go, they're not listening to this, but just in case they unfortunately become a fan of this team one day and listen to this in a recording, just want to say hi to my sons, Colin and Adam, and my daughter, Lola.
The most Islander story. And kudos to your teacher for using his business. That's perfect to use that. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you, Matt. That was great. Okay, next up is Jay Frank. Jay, where are you? Hey, why not? Step up, my friend.
So this one was a little different. So I'm Jay. So I grew up in Wausau.
Hey, that's my.
Yeah, I've heard the All-American.
American.
And I moved to Connecticut, and now we just moved to Maryland, and so we had a long trip to get here, but it was worth it, and I'm really happy to be here amongst the Islanders brethren. It's a pleasure. And I think, like, I forgot your name, but like you said, you guys really articulate things that I feel, and my wife has to deal with it. But so this jersey has a funny story behind it. So when I moved to Connecticut about 9 years ago, after living in the city, after growing up on Long Island, so I moved to Connecticut, and my next door neighbor happens to be a big Rangers fan. But he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and we played hockey together. He invited me to play hockey at a local skate. It's a pickup skate, and it's just a great thing for me. I love doing that. It keeps me sane, in addition to listening to your guys' podcast. And we were friends for years, and about like 3 years after we became friends, he's like, hey, Jay, I have an Islanders jersey. You want it? I'm like, sure. Yeah, why not? And so he brings it over, and I'm like, cool. And a couple days later, he's like, but like, you like the jersey, right? So what are you going to pay me for it? I was like, all right, that was $50. And because, I didn't care. I was just like, it's a cool jersey. I want it. And he's like, how about 100? He's a great guy. This is just a weird thing. And so I paid $100 for this, and it seems like so worth it. And like, just to be able to bring it here to this event. And this dude over here, right when I walked in, he starts, I've been trying to figure out who all the names are on it. And this guy, he's just like rattling them off. I mean, I say Yash. I think that's Adrian Coyne. He said 37. It was Marc-Andre Bergeron. That was the most impressive poll that I saw. I guess.
I'm the worst with these. Unless they have a number. This is a.
Could that be Radek Martinez, 24? But I'm not sure. Yeah. I know you guys are huge fans of Radek.
Yeah. I think if that's 21, that's Barry Chakowski.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, 100 bucks a good price.
Yeah. Let's look at the tags on it too, man.
Yeah. And I think I saw this probably might be Sean Bates.
Yes. Yeah.
So I thought it would be a fun one to grab here.
Oh, it's great. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So now, when you have this at home, like, where is this? Is it
I think at some point I might like put it on display in my office. I have like a ton of
next season.
Yeah, we got to change the look. This has been one of the roughest seasons we've ever had.
Do you have any contact with this Charlotte Rangers fan?
We actually we were visiting family and friends in Connecticut, and we went to our old house, which is right next door to his house. And we hung out with our other neighbors. But it was a weird out of character thing for him because he really is a good guy. But it was a fun story, and I thought it would be fun to share with this group in particular.
Yeah,
thank you.
My mom was a big garage sale goer, and one day she comes up and she's like, "Yeah, I got an Islanders jersey for him." I'm like, "Oh, no way, really?" She found it. It's a Rangers jersey. And it's not a Rangers jersey. Yeah, but and I'm like, this is a Rangers jersey. But on the back was like, again, just the guy's name and a number. And I'm like, even if I wanted to collect it, like I was a jersey collector, I don't want somebody's name. Like, that's their jersey. I don't know why they're getting rid of it, but thanks. But
Not a Casparitis or LaFontaine.
No, yeah, exactly.
That'd be painful.
Yeah, right. But you did hold on to my fisherman jersey for all the jokes, but I can't talk too much. But Jay, those are great stories. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
All right, fantastic. This is the guy I want to talk about. He's not technically a weird Islander because he spent 2 full seasons with the Islanders, but they were weird. Let's be honest. Okay, so Will, please come up and tell us your story about this mystery player that we're going to talk about. Will, by the way, is one of the guys from Meetup New York City.
Thank you. I wasn't going to speak, but mainly because I tend to ramble off about these sort of things. So there's a lot of, I wrote on my card the name of the player, which is Jason Chimera. So I'm wearing, so I came straight from the Mets game because I had some friends in town. So I watched 3-4 sad innings of that, came over here. I would have been threaded up. I had my Josh Hosang jersey in storage. I would have worn that today probably, but I was really happy because as a side note, and I wrote on the card, Jason Chimera / the Brooklyn era. Yes. So I'll get into that. But first off, I'm a proud savage eBay searcher and collector of Brooklyn era stuff.
Nice.
I lived in. So I'm from. My name is Will. I'm from originally from Freeport, and now living in Astoria. I moved to Brooklyn in Crown Heights right around the year after they moved to Brooklyn. And it was kind of a weird thing where it was like I was in a relationship, we broke up, I was there for work, so I had to stay in the city, and I ended up in Brooklyn for those reasons. And it was sort of like this weird magical thing where I was very much a casual fan, and the culmination of both being now having lived 20 minutes away from the Coliseum, now living 20 minutes away from Barclays Center, and then having things like your podcast to really just continuously get myself the Long Island perspective, the like inside baseball's perspective of the team, and also just to have all the institutional knowledge that both of you kind of bring, because I was a super casual fan and didn't really get full sicko mode until pretty much after the fight night. So getting a lot of that stuff from you guys has been really helpful for me because I grew up in a baseball household. So just having all that too to live vicariously through your experiences and to then kind of go and seek out those hockey references searches at 3 a.m. in the morning, it didn't really make sense to me. I thank you for that. So we get to Jason Chimera.
Yes.
So I went to for all you guys that sold Brooklyn tickets because you couldn't make the trip out on a Tuesday and didn't want to have to pay the $30 train ride out from East Long Island. And sold your ticket for $2. Thank you so much. I bought a lot of those tickets. I could either find a sketchy stream online, close out all the pop-ups, and then watch the game from home, or just get on the train and be there in 10 minutes for $2. So it was always an easy purchase for me. I went to so many games for that reason alone. And Jason Chimera is one of the quintessential Brooklyn Islanders to me. And for me, I'll also make this so. My post and pre-game bar was the Montrose, which is now closed. It was on 5th Avenue in Park Slope. The main bartender there was a guy named Avi, great guy. He was the head of the New York Capitals meetup.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
My friend Cody bartended there.
So, great place. It closed after the 2017-2018 season. I had half-season tickets that year. Avi was a great guy. His meetup used to sit right in front of where my half-season tickets were. They all used to come dressed in denim, like biker guys. They were very nice, but they were loud. And these guys had like fat heads of Jason Chimera. They would worship this guy, and it got me like thinking about the whole idea of like making me miss Matt Martin that much more. Because I mean, I know Matt Martin was sort of a cult hero to some of Leafs fans, but also. He was sort of like the oddball out. He was the non-starlet in the team of starlets, right? And it made me miss Matt Martin so much having Jason Chimera, because like to me it's like all I see is this kind of like oddball guy who just gets an untimely like third period penalty when it's your guy and it's Matt Martin and you have all the lore of Matt Martin, like you can look past that sort of stuff because he's Matt Martin. But when you get that guy imported to you and you kind of it's like and it's just sort of like, I mean, look, he was a fine player for what he was. He was a little long in the tooth at that time. But to see those guys embrace him as much as they did, like I said, like they had like Jason Chimera, like they got the blow up head of him, and like they put the cardboard and they just hold it up, like they did that stuff for him, and like I'll always appreciate that crew and that just where that sat in terms of my fandom and how I got galvanized for that and listening to you guys, and the only way that story ends is that. That bar, the Montrose, and I didn't get to see Avi because it closed at the end of that season. But he then went to a bar a couple blocks away, and I was dating somebody at the time who lived above the bar he moved to, and I just happened to go down for brunch one day, and sitting there nervously on my phone because it's the free agency day, the 2018, and Avi's working there.
Oh, God.
So Avi's working there, and at this point, the Caps just won their Stanley Cup. So he's got Ovechkin holding the Stanley Cup tattooed to his leg. And, we were talking about Barry Trotz, we were talking about all this stuff. I see him at the bar. We go sit down for brunch. I get all the Arthur Staple tweets of where Tavares is signed. And next thing I know, I tell my girlfriend at the time, I say, I got to go to the bar. I have to sit with this guy. I need to just stay here. I'll meet you upstairs in a little bit. And sure enough, Avi did not charge me for the next several rounds. And I just drank straight the top shelf whiskey for the rest of the day and took the longest nap. And sweet guy, but just so many memories of like the weird Capitals meetup, the Brooklyn era, and Jason Chimera was like the quintessential guy. If I close my eyes and think about that time in my life, it comes back to him. So
that's awesome.
Great story.
Will, those are amazing stories. Thank you so much. Jason Chimera has to be one of the least likely and least remembered 20-goal scorers in Islanders history. Like, if you go back and look, he had a good season.
20 goals. That's his liking, but like.
And the other funny thing too that your story reminds me of is like, especially when you're on like Twitter and everybody hates everybody else as like tough guys. So like there are people that think Matt Martin is like Jack the Ripper. Like, he's just the worst, most offensive headhunter in the entire league. Matt Martin has never been suspended. He barely takes penalties anymore. And if he does, it's because he's slow.
When he started out, he was kind of like
right, but not really. But then everybody has their guy. So like Caps fans might hate Matt Martin, but then they're all wearing Tom Wilson jerseys. They love a guy like Jason Chimera. Like it's just what.
The girls like Tom Wilson.
The quick thing I left out of that story that I just have to add on is that season my fantasy hockey team name was Jamiroquai.
Even better.
Yeah.
Okay, up next. That was great. Well, thank you very much. And again, shout out to Isles Meetups NYC for helping us out today, presenting us. You guys are all great. Next up, we have Adam. Where's Adam?
I'm here.
Come on up, Adam. It says you have a Islander thing that is weird, which is a very strange and disturbing image.
Yes, very scary.
We're willing to hear you.
Well, you know, most of what I ask questions on the Patreon, I find they're all ended up directed towards Mike, you know. And the last time I finally found a question that was directed at you, Dan.
Okay.
Which is the one about Ranger fans showing up at Islanders games.
Oh, yeah. Don't. Anyway, you're right.
I was worried that some Rangers fan would show up here.
No, yeah, I was worried about that. We have security on standby just in case that happens.
I didn't have any weird Islander stuff. I mean, I've been around for I think Dan and I are about the same age. And so we saw like the end of the Cups.
I was alive for the end.
I grew up in Manhasset, and one of my neighbors was Brian Trottier. And I remember when they won the fourth cup, I believe it was the fourth cup, they had the actual cup, like it came to our local bar in Manhasset. It was called Publicans. And I was like 9 years old at the time, you know. And my dad was like, you got to come down here because like Brian Trottier is here with the cup. And I came down to this bar on Planum Road in Manhasset and saw like the actual cup, like, and saw Brian Trottier, and all these guys were just like drinking from the cup, and it was crazy, and it was really crazy, and so I come from that perspective that like I was 9 years old, and now like my kids, I have a 9-year-old, and like that was
I don't think he's going on the bar to drink out.
There's no Brian Trottier.
And I have a 16-year-old and a 21-year-old, and I was hoping that by the time they would get these ages, they would experience something that like close to what I did. But it just hasn't happened, right, guys? But anyway, so like I know that you guys have said that like one of the main years of the Islanders that like they really became. A lot of people here probably like got into it when in the 2002 year.
Yeah.
And so I went on eBay actually to try to find some weird Islander gear to bring, and I found something.
Oh my God!
Yes. And it also represents something that you know that Mike has spoken of. The Long Island Duck. And this is the Kenny Janssen duck.
Incredible.
So I'm going to present it to you.
Oh, we have another one.
This is incredible.
Well, this is actually great because each of you guys can have one.
Oh, wow.
It's a pleasure for both of them.
Oh, wow. Look at that. This is so nice. Wow.
We got to bring together Kenny Janssen.
I can't believe you're this Kenny Janssen.
We have both of them. I have the mid-condition version.
So one goes to Mike. Thank you.
Kenny Janssen duck from 2002, baby.
I remember who it was that they did this for Petra.
Yeah.
I don't think Yash, because I feel like maybe it doesn't, you wouldn't have understood.
No.
Maybe they were making fun of him.
Yeah.
But there was definitely a hat-trick story to one of these games. And I was there, and the Ducks went flying.
These are wonderful. Thank you so much. It's very above and beyond you guys have to do. I will say, though, that by far the most disturbing element of this very disturbing item is their hair. They're like 3D modeling on Kenny Janssen's hair. It's like they put it on top. But this is amazing. Thank you very much. This is
so, yeah.
You don't have to answer this.
Yes.
How much did this cost on eBay?
$10,000.
I mean, it's eBay, so I would believe you.
No, it's like $10. Plus shipping.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is incredible. We have, I was telling you before, we have an upcoming episode of Weird Islanders about Kenny's brother. So I will send a picture. Yes, in Oregon. So I will send a picture of this to the gentleman that I interviewed for that podcast, so he can show this to Kenny. And when he sees them next, and I'm sure they're all going to be kick out of it over in Sweden. They're going to be like, they made that? They didn't necessarily made that, but thank you, Adam. This is incredible.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
was going to bring champagne since you said that. You wouldn't drink champagne until they lost, but.
What I said was I will pop champagne when I don't have to watch this season. And then, of course, what they did, they went out and friggin' won. Somebody heard it.
Feel bad win.
This season has been between the feel bad wins, playing like assholes, like, what was the other thing you just said that I'm like, yeah, this is just like, I forget what you said in the last episode.
About rock bottoms?
Yeah, it's a season of rock bottoms. Like, it's just, we have definitely added to our lexicon this year, despite how many losses we've seen. Okay, we have a few more here. Very excited because this one talks about a curse. And I'm excited to hear about this. So, Ian, please come up here and tell us about your Islander jersey story and curse. And is it involving fishermen?
This is technically not a weird Islander because it is a Wallstrom jersey, which is just unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's weird that you're wearing that. Well, I'm like a weird Islanders fan in the sense that I've never lived on Long Island at all.
Where are you from?
I'm from Glen Rock, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, any of you who know me know that. And when the Fisherman came out last year, I've always loved the Fisherman logo. My dad's a reporter. He wrote about it back in the day.
Wow. For Newsday?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I've loved the Fisherman. I had a different version of it, and when they announced they were bringing it back last year, I'm like, oh, I have to get a Fisherman for Christmas. So, I wasn't sure who to get on it because I don't want to get the same players that everybody else has. Like, I don't want to get a Barzell or a Dobson or a Lee because those are too common.
Rock Collins.
So I got this jersey. I decided to get Wallstrom because of the fight with Tony D last year. Bounced his head off the ice. I'm like, yeah, that's the one I'm going to get. So the next game after that, in case any of you remember, was a rematch against the Flyers at Summit in Philadelphia. Right. And I made the trip down for that game. I went with a couple friends of mine, and the Islanders looked like shit in that one. It was not a fun night. It's never fun to be in that building when your team is losing. That drive home was not very fun. A couple hours back home. Anyway, I finally got the jersey for Christmas. This was the only Christmas gift I got that year. Wallstrom blows his knee out on his first shift in the next game. Yeah. I'm a strange fan in the sense, too, that, I have terrible luck at going to Islanders games at every place other than the Barclays Center, which I despise going to, because even where I live, that's a lot harder for me to get to than UBS or the Coliseum was, especially when I was in college. I went to college in Connecticut, and so that was a 2.5-hour train ride down, which was worth it because the ticket was $5. But no, I never saw the Islanders win a game at the Coliseum. I have a terrible record at UBS, and I feel responsible for at least one season-ending injury.
Well, I don't think that's on you. No, I have a terrible record too, and I try to go every year with my buddy Gio for his birthday. It's usually in December. I try to go to a home game. I don't think we've seen one win. We've been doing it for years, and the last time we went was that Predators game where they lost.
That's a mistake.
And I remember being like, why did I pick a Nashville game? This was really dumb.
When was the last time we got them?
1998. So we'll see what happens. But Ian, that's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. And that's interesting. I've never seen one. This is the new Fisherman, and it looks nice. I gotta tell you, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
and the lettering is a lot easier to read than the old Fisherman, which nobody could read. So that's awesome. Thank you very much, Ian. That's great. Thank you. Good to see some other jersey representation as well, aside from myself. Remember, we have a game to go on, so try not to go too far off.
That's the thing. I always feel bad when we're recording, and you're like, all right, we'll try to keep it tight. And then I'm like, someone brings up Justin Tappan. Basically walking around my room and screaming Justin Tappan.
Two sides to that. One is, we go a little long, but that's okay. The other is what I do, which is we finish the show, I turn off, and then I think of 800 things that I wanted to say, and I totally forgot about because everybody brought it down. So you're better off doing what you do. But Trevor, please come up here and tell us about your weird Islander, who I know is a Michael Reed.
First of all, thanks guys for putting this together. This is a podcast for a while. I have a relatively short but funny story about Eric Bolton.
All right. Yes.
fan favorite for a little bit, and we looked up 54 games he played with the Islanders. He was good in the room because he wasn't going on the ice.
To be honest, I didn't know he qualified as a weird Islander.
He's like 54 games.
54 games as an Islander.
He was an Islander for like 8 years.
I know.
He was a practice player for like 5 years.
Yeah,
he was like Boychuk, but the difference was he wasn't injured. So funny enough, from Long Island, grew up in Muttontown, pretty close actually to Iceworks, so that's another funny story. I was playing travel hockey for a good part of my younger life, like up through high school, and this must have been around ninth grade, so I might get some dates wrong on this, but Eric Bolton, I used to play for a travel hockey team that played at Dix Hills Arena. And Eric Bolton used to help out as like an assistant coach. I think it was his son with the my team that practiced before us. There's really young kids. He was like an assistant coach. Myself and my teammates at the time were kind of messing around before practice, like out in the locker room. And Eric Bolton comes in, and a lot of guys that like either were Rangers fans, unfortunately, or like weren't serious Islanders fans, they didn't really recognize who Eric Bolton was. And right away, I see this just burly man packing a massive whip. Like looked a little drunk, to be honest. It was Eric Bolton. And funny enough, this was the preseason at this point. They had played, it was like September. They had played the Capitals the night before. I believe this was the season after Tom Wilson took out Lugo. And Bolton, fed him that night. And it's a shame that they never met up in the regular season because he would have kicked his ass again. and I went up to him right away. I was like, "That was awesome what you did to Tom Wilson last night." And he didn't really say much about it. He kind of laughed or whatever. And then I started talking to my teammates while he was right there. I was like, "That's so awesome! Like we gotta be like that." And he goes up to me and he's like, "Listen, kid, you don't want to be like me." I loved the period of hockey where we had verses like that, but these guys didn't really like the job. It wasn't a fun job. And that's my brief story about Eric Bolton. I have another one about an Islander who is definitely not a weird Islander. He's a heralded Islander who unfortunately can't skate anymore. His name's Matt Martin. So the Islanders used to practice at Iceworks, as a lot of you guys know, and that was about a 10-minute drive tops from my house. So I was young sometimes, and they had practices. I used to actually stand outside. It was basically me and a bunch of total losers getting autographs to sell on eBay outside of Iceworks before they went to Eisenhower and they got the private back entrance. But they used to just walk through the front. There was no private entrance. So I used to get awesome pictures with Franz Nielsen and Travis Hammond, who were awesome Islanders players. And anyway, a lot of them would go to Bagel Master if they had morning practice. Lance Dias that did a good bagel, or still does a good bagel. And my mom was picking up bagels from there once, and she saw Matt Martin. She didn't even say hi to him. And you can't tell my dad this. My mom loves Matt Martin. He's a hunk.
He is a handsome man. That is true.
So fast forward a year later than that, Matt Martin's on the Leafs now. And I'm in the Cayman Islands with my family during the All-Star break, and Matt Martin and Mitch Marner, which is really crazy. And so the first thing my mom does, she walks up to Matt Martin. She was like, "I saw you at Bagel Master." And it took him a sec. And he has a pretty thick Canadian accent. It took him a second. He goes, "Oh yeah, you're Bagel Master. Yeah, good bagel." What? Oh yeah, Canadians say bagel usually.
or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It was a funny interaction, and then funny enough, that night we see Mike Babcock, and the next morning my dad, we walked by Matt Martin and Mitch Marner with Sydney and with whoever Mitch Marner's girlfriend was at the time, hanging out on the beach. And my dad's like, "Yeah, you know your coach is here," and they just roll their eyes. they're like, "Yeah." Which is hilarious because now that all the stuff with Mike Babcock follows him. Yeah, but I didn't know this, and at this point, Mike Babcock was still one of the most respected coaches in the NHL. And I was like, I didn't care that much about Mitch Marner because he was not that much older than me and whatever. But it's Mike Babcock, and I had briefly talk to him that morning, but Mike Babcock, that's a Hall of Fame coach. So anyway, I'm walking down the beach, and he walks right by me. And I literally do a 180 turn because I'm like, I got to introduce myself and start talking to Mike Babcock. And the funny thing is that he was like the nicest guy, which is kind of crazy when you think about the context.
Yeah, right.
So it's just Mike Babcock and I, like in a romantic movie, walking down the beach. I was asking him about all different things. I was asking about Jeremy Bracco, who was like a Long Island for a while. Didn't pan out, unfortunately, but had a really funny conversation. And that's about it. Just,
that's great.
Eric Bolton's a weird Islander, but I figured I'd include that weird story.
That's perfect. I mean, that's Islanders in weird places. Really great. Thank you so much, everyone. That was awesome. Yeah, I can't imagine like seeing an Islander on vacation of all the places to like run into an Islander.
And the timing of the All-Star break, they don't have that many days.
Right. Yeah. That's really funny. I thought you were gonna say that like.
John's fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. He said he came around for a different reason. I thought you were gonna say when you said that like that time they were gonna like try and roll out. Oh shit! And you're gonna kind of like sneak out of there. That's amazing. Eric Bolton at preseason, though, when I hear those two words together, you know what I'm talking about. The classic goal against the Devils. The breakaway goal against Marty Brodeur.
He just come over to the Devils, too, right?
Yeah. And you thought, ultimately, you talked about getting sucked into this year's team. I remember watching that and being like, my God, if Eric Bolton can score more goals like that from the fourth line, that's going to be incredible. But it didn't happen. But that was every time he got into a fight, I would share that gift of him if he scored that goal. He had his hands when he wanted to have. So, okay, this is our last one. These have been fantastic. These have all been fantastic stories. I can't thank you guys enough. But there is someone in this room who has been on the news with Rick Bowness.
Right.
Is that true? So will you please come up and tell us your story about how on God's green earth this happened to you? So will you please tell us your name and where you're
Yeah, guys, first time caller. My name is Life of Leboff. I'm actually Mike's older brother. And it's so funny. I think about Game 6 against the Lightning, and everyone freaking out about how Islanders fans reacted that night, throwing beer cans on the ice. I don't know what everyone was freaking out about, because I know that Islanders fans don't know what to do when we're winning. Because when I was in first grade, I was at a game behind the bench. First off, I had no idea how to conduct myself behind the Islanders bench, because I was usually in the gods. And it was a game against the Bruins. We won 8-2. So I'm with my buddy Ross and his dad. Thank God my parents weren't there, because they would have kicked me out probably in the first period, taking me home. I was like, you know what, Ross, I'm going to get on the news here, or we're going to get on TV. I want to be on the Jumbotron. And I started doing the monkey behind Rick Bowness. Anytime the puck went out of play. And there I am, whatever, didn't think anything of it. And then, I mean, it was before Twitter or anything like that. So a couple friends. Someone recorded the game and sent the video over to our family. And there I am. And every once in a while, Mike likes to remind me and keep me humble about the night that I was doing the monkey behind Rick Bowness.
Yeah, this is the video.
Yeah, I've definitely seen
the sound. The sound is incredible.
That's amazing.
Because it's Howie and Ed Westphal, and Howie absolutely tears my brother's haircut to shreds.
Actually a number one, and when you have the competition that the Islanders have, Rick Bowness likes that between two goaltenders, two young goaltenders. Boy, the kids got all the moves, don't they? Gee. I bet that haircut costs as much as the sweater, and that's about $80.
That's a Mo Howard special, baby. You gotta like it. Spread out.
He's got the moves. Okay.
Ed Westphal talks about how the haircut costs more than the jersey that my brother was wearing. But it's a great video because Rick Bowness, they're winning 8-2. That's a terrible season. And Rick Bowness looks pretty upset.
It's well, so much so actually that on the newscast they got it wrong. They said the coach doesn't look happy, but the fan does. They thought that Rick Bowness was the Bruins coach, even though he's sitting on the bench with the Islanders. That's how the Islanders used to be covered. Like that's how it was.
In fairness, he did coach the Bruins before coming down.
This is true.
Yes. Wanted to get a coach episode out there, so hopefully this opens the door.
Yeah.
Rick Bowness, exactly 100 games behind the Islanders bench. Probably 100 of the worst games they've ever had. Just off. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great video. I tweet it out every once in a while. I think the last time I did, David contributes to St. Baldrick's, and he's got like I'm bald and he's got these great blonde locks. But the last time I think I tweeted it out because he was donating, and I was like, he's doing this, but here's what this is what he's giving up. So it's actually pretty good, for that haircut.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I actually haven't cut the hair since, but now that joke's out there. Because it was, and I gotta say, as much as Mike's thrown me up a couple of times, and it makes me like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the coolest guy in the room when he's gonna make a podcast. Meanwhile, it's my car, so I am I'm also the uncoolest. But he's the reason I'm feeling down. I fell off during the dark years, and he's still brought me back. So thank you. And
sorry.
Thank you, Dave. That is an amazing story. Thank you, everybody. This has been absolutely fantastic, incredible, perfect. I love it. This has gone better than I guess we could have ever hoped. Let me do my usual thing here. I have to read it. This is a little tip for you. I still have to read this, even though I've done it 200 some odd times. So thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Where can you find Mike on Twitter?
Mike, where can everybody find you on Twitter? Follow Mike at read and listen to his work at Action Network. Sign up at patreon.com/anxiety. Listen to Bjorn Falk. He's our, you wrote our lead song, Knuckles. Let's read Lighthouse Hockey.
Every single day.
Every single day. And we're part of Fans First Sports Network. Mike, any final thoughts on what has been our first ever live event?
No, I mean, this has been, like you said, better than I thought it would go. I knew that, we need some great people today. I didn't expect to be walking out of here with a Kenny Johnson Celebrity Duck, but that's on me, obviously. I should have saw that. I should have known that I was probably going to be walking out of the Lower East Side or Avenue City with a Kenny Johnson Celebrity Duck.
What year was this?
2002? Yeah. Wow. Yes, it's been awesome. And I thank you for Dan does all the important stuff that makes it possible to do it, like the plug. I didn't know what to do with the wires. There were three of us in here, and I told them that I would hold stuff for you guys, but you edit everything and all that, and so you pulled this one off. So
we pulled this off. There is no Weird Islanders without the two of us. There's no Islanders Anxiety without the two of us. But there's also none of this without you guys. And thank you so much, and it's incredible. Now, unfortunately, we have to watch Islanders. And unfortunately, this is also the season finale of Weird Islanders podcast, but we will be back next year with a brand new slate of Weird Islanders and great guests. And we will talk to you then. And until then, keep Islanders weird!